Hi, I'm Jonathan Weinberg, and this is Drawing with Fountain Pens. Today I'm just going to do a brief video, a comparison of two of the JunLai 9330 pens. A few weeks ago I got this enormous pen, and I was really delighted with the nib, which is the number 9 nib. It's this huge nib. I got it in a broad, I guess what they call a broad, and I was amazed by how bouncy the nib was, how it had a bit of flex to it, how nice it was to draw with, and I gave it a very positive review. But I got some comments from people who said, oh no, the pen they got wrote like a nail and it wasn't great, and I must have just gotten, a surprise, was lucky and gotten a good one. So I sent away, I wondered if it was possible that it had something to do with the difference between the fine and the broad. So I got this version of the pen, which is in burgundy, and I got it in a fine, what they call fine nib. And indeed, I discovered not that the nib was so scratchy, but it isn't nearly as bouncy. It isn't as fun to draw with. It isn't as great. So I think there is a difference, and I'm not going to do a huge review where I go over all the aspects of the pen, since I did that before. But what I am going to do is draw with it and see whether how they both perform. As always, if you find this useful, please do subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, and it's a great way to support the channel. So here are the two pens. This is the black version, the original version that I got, that I think has such a cool nib. And this is a version I just got in this nice burgundy, just to kind of review what makes this pen special, of course, is this enormous nib. It has this ink window. The basic shape of the pen is so much like the Mont Blanc 149, or I just reviewed the Sailor King of Pens, but it's really huge. It's bigger than 6 inches and almost like 7 inches when you post it, but it's really ridiculously too long when you post it. And so the question is really, is this fine nib has bouncy and has great for drawing, has, I find, the I guess what they're calling a broad nib, or somewhere between a broad and medium nib. So let's try it out on a piece of paper. Now this is my go-to paper that I use when I'm drawing a lot. This is the Strathmore paper. And I'm using a new, for me, fairly new ink, which is the Monteverdi Scotch Brown, which has replaced for me the Waterman Absolute Brown, which they no longer make. Anyway, here it is. Very smooth, very bouncy, and you can see that it can do fairly thin and also reverse. And then it can get fairly broad, so there is some flex. I would say it's a semi-flex, and I find this to be a very pleasant and satisfactory pen for drawing. I even like the big size, because to me it's almost like a brush. And here flows very well, very wet. Okay, so that is the wider size. They're saying it's almost a 1 millimeter width nib. So it's like a broad nib. This is the fine. And you'll notice that that for Asian fine, this is almost really a medium. And it is quite smooth, but it has no flex to it at all. But one of the comments I got was that the nib was scratchy and, unpleasant. That's not the case here. This is very wet, very smooth, but it isn't, for whatever reason, it's not nearly as bouncy. And I'm not sure why that is. It wouldn't be a matter of tuning. Basically, the bounciness of a big nib might have something to do with how it matches up with the feed. Like if it hangs over the feed a certain way or if it's cut in a certain way. But as far as I can tell, the fine nib and the wider nib, the broad nib, the actual shape of the overall nib is the same. But in any case, it isn't as pleasant. The line that it produces isn't as varied as the broad. So I guess my recommendation is, if you're going to get this pen and you want to draw with it, I would go with the broader nib. However, I'm always saying this, it's not a bad thing to have both pens, because that's another way to get variety, is to switch. And I often say this, that an artist would never just use one brush, and there's no particular reason why you would use, I think, just one pen to do a drawing. You don't have to do that if what matters to you is line variation. So that sums it up. I find at least the broad nib of the 930 that I got was much better than the fine nib. As always, if this is useful to you, please subscribe, give it a like. It really is important, and it doesn't cost you anything, and it's the best way to support the channel.